my name. We'll give him a sec. Oh, I forgot about that. Recording. All right, thank you all for joining us today. I know it's been a while, month, or maybe 5 weeks because of the holiday last week. We definitely just want to jump in, talk about what we've been doing on the vector side. Actually, most of the people on the call have been involved in the activity, bless you, Debbie, for the last month of some of the things that have been going on internally with us and helping get some things over to Eastern Europe. But certainly there's room for discussion about some of the things that we could do moving forward. I'm not sure if, is it Syed? If I'm saying your name right, if you want to introduce yourself and say hi, I think that you're new to the call. But you're on mute if you can hear me. Maybe not. We'll give them a second. Kay, you've been on a couple of times. You haven't been on video. I'm not sure if you want to say hi or anything. We've been working with your team quite a bit and the Matter team. Maybe everyone's shy today.
Step back from vacation feel. I still feel it.
I know. It's like the deer in the headlights, like, wait, I have to think. I'm not ready, I'm sure Vladimir will chime in once he gets his technology figured out. Enrique, anything you want to say to get us started?
No, I just want to thank everyone. As you said, we've been working with most of the people on this call over the last month, and I get a little bit more than a month. And again, just say the same thing that we all know it's true, which is it's unfortunately going to take a longer time than we expected. So we just have to keep at it and make sure that every month that we come together, we continue to invite other people, because we're going to need the push from everyone, right, to make this a longer term kind of commitment to the people from Ukraine and the people in Ukraine.
Yeah, I was just making a note. Hey, Vladimir, you want to do it audio? No, we can't hear you. We can see you talking. Yeah. Let me see here. I'm just taking a note. So to give you guys a couple updates on some of the things that we've been doing at Vector, I mean, Katie and her team and where'd Kay go? Kay and her team, we've been working with them to get some shipments on the water. Lisa, who just joined us as well, has a shipment of books that we're going to get on the water in the next couple weeks. Vladimir and Evert had an opportunity to work together as Vladimir helped us and helped Evert get all those pallets off all the docks that they were clogging up for quite a bit of time at Performance Health and get that product on the way to Ukraine. And we've had some their connection. And Lisa Fryman, yep, Lisa says we have 20 pallets ready to go. And I think, Lisa, your shipment is being picked up, I believe, next week. I know that Nicole is out, but we've been tracking the dates. There's some people that have not joined today, but Svetlana, who I'm sure you guys might remember from the last call, she had been participating a lot in trying to get some medical equipment, specific medical supplies, over to Ukraine. Well, Mark Fashevsky, who we worked with on an earlier shipment, who hasn't joined the call in a while, sent me a list of, he called them a particular product and I wasn't familiar with what it was, but he said, do you know, this stuff's already in Poland. Do you know anybody who could use it? And I sent the Excel sheet out to a couple people, and then Svetlana came back and said, I do. I know some people who want it and can take it. So I connected them and said, we can help if needed, but since it's already in pretty close proximity to each other, the intent was just to connect them and get the product in the hands of the right people who need it. So that really is the goal of these get-togethers or calls once a month, is to kind of share information, share experiences. I know that the Matter team, I have to give them another shout out, because We continually have people coming and asking, hey, those mixed medical supplies that you mentioned, in April and May and June, are there still any available? And Katie always replies right away and says, yep. And then we have a booking for the Copernicus group, who Anya joined the call last month, and the call before that, that is going to head out in the next couple weeks or so. The steamship lines keep kind of pushing some of the export dates back, so we've had to shift some pickup dates and loading dates for that. But I personally am really happy with, all the progress that we as a group have made, and not the Vector group, but people who have continued to participate on these calls and share the information, and kind of place the connections, because that's really what this is all about. And so I feel like we definitely made a lot of progress in the last month. And, I'm happy we'll have some more quantifiable information next month. We're putting that together for everybody. 55,000 books, Lisa. Do you want to chime in? You can unmute yourself. And she's like, no. Oh, her mic doesn't work. Okay.
They've also received lots of great local media coverage about their book shipments and
Oh, yeah.
country connections and stuff too. So congrats to them on multiple fronts.
Yeah, and we were able to work with Vladimir a couple times now. We worked with him on the performance health shipment, and then he has, I want to say, there was one container that went out, and then another two that went out or were going out last week, or the week before. All the dates have kind of mushed together. And if I toggle over to the other screen, my thing will get a little fuzzy.
You guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because I'm using the phone. I don't know, something's wrong with my cell phone.
Okay.
So, all right. Yeah, it was actually 2 containers and 2 more, so 4 total.
Yeah. Oh, the first 2 were 2. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Vladimir's been active down there in the Florida area, gathering supplies and getting them on the water from there. And so he's been patient as we've dealt with some of the steamship line delays and drayage companies. Same with Kay and her team. They've had a couple containers going over to Poland and Ukraine, and the Course of Action Foundation, which is not on the call, they had a container as well that shipped from the Tampa area near where Vladimir is, of stuff that's going to the Rotary Club in Ukraine. And that is just getting to Poland right now. So we every morning we wake up and we have some emails from the agents over there as the situation's changing, and the Polish government is getting a little bit more strict with paperwork and customs clearance. And as the ports are starting to become a little bit more, almost too congested, as the ports in Ukraine have, as we know, haven't opened up yet. The surrounding countries, their ports are getting pretty congested. And so we're just seeing kind of the ripple effect of that. That takes a couple weeks to manifest after things leave the US. And Dimitra, I'm not sure if you have any insight on that, being that you're in Poland and kind of what you're seeing on the ground there.
Yes, I can just add a few. Let me share with you some information. After collapse with transport, which we had here in June, from beginning of July, situation began to improve step by step. It's, the main congestions because redirected cargo and cargo which was shipped in April and from March and April came together to the Polish ports. And in general, we can say that volunteer movement to create now is a very difficult situation. First of all, this is due to the very high price for transport right now. For example, from Warsaw to Kiev, trailer costs now about up to 4,000 euro, from 350 up to 4,000. Because there is a huge amount of commercial cargo in addition to Polish traditional one, and also was added Ukrainian import and export. During the processing which almost all storage. And another problem that all warehouses are almost utilized, you know. There is no free space to collect cargo within European Union, and there is no space. There is difficult. It's really difficult now to find space to transship cargo from container to standard trailer. For example, warehouses around Gdansk do not accept any loose cargo, only on pallets. So if you're sending humanitarian aid now, please make sure it's palletized, because that would make things simple. Here I'm just to remind you that I'm working here for Anti-Crisis Center by Ukrainian Embassy in Warsaw in Poland, and here we're trying to solve this problem from our side with warehouse logistics, to collect some volunteers to collect their cargo and offer them our warehouse services for some sponsor and donation sources, like cross-docking, like documentation, custom clearance shop, and all which connects to warehouse logistics, like pelletizing. And but concerning road freight, it's really difficult right now, because it's lack of transport, lack of trailers, and we don't know. I mean, there is a huge amount of cargo, but there are not many trailers. And railway also overbooked for. There is a line on the border for a few weeks. Expectation to pass through the Polish and Ukrainian borders. So that's the main problem right now here.
Yeah, what we've seen as well, and some of it, someone on our team and I spent a bit of time yesterday with this, is that we've seen that even though a lot of the material coming in is humanitarian aid, the Polish, the government or the customs department is being a lot more strict about what they're allowing to be humanitarian aid, or there's a lot more hurdles and paperwork than there were, a month or 2 months ago. And so now some people importing, or, us sending material over to a consignee who 30, 45 days ago thought, without a care in the world, of course, this is humanitarian aid, it'll be VAT free and duty free. Now it's, we're not really sure. Government's asking for more documentation. They're being a little bit more strict with it. I think so that's definitely added some potential costs to those bringing material into the region, because with the intent of it being humanitarian aid was to also, it would bypass some of those additional costs at the destination. And we're seeing that isn't necessarily a sure thing, unless it's essentially going immediately into Ukraine. So we're trying to work through with our team here. How do we stay, we're only, when we ship something, there's still 30 days before it gets there. And the situation there is so dynamic that we can't anticipate what's going to happen when the product's on the water. So we've kind of had to do some course correcting and updated documentation once material gets there, in order to really preserve as many of the costs as possible, so that it can go towards logistics instead of the duties and taxes.
Yeah, and also double purpose cargo transit of double purpose cargo became more complicated. Not for all terms, but for a few of them. From middle of May, Polish government requires more custom documents and certification for that.
Yeah.
We can assist with find the user certificate, but for sure the procedure takes a few days now. It became a bit longer and complicated also.
Right. And with the ports being so backed up, I think there's some challenges too, that, we want to avoid anything being held up at the port because of extra costs. But, if they're congested and there's a lack of truckers and things like that. Some things that we've seen on the US side where some of the ports are really congested. We're trying to avoid that because nobody that's shipping here, you know, really, everybody wants to spend the money and the time and the effort getting the goods to those who need it. We don't want to be paying, you know, demurrage or additional paperwork costs or documentation fees, especially since I know that the trucking costs have gone up significantly in the past month or two.
Yeah,
Yeah, Maureen.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
Joel
trying to see
Anderson.
who's talking. Oh,
Joel
Matt.
Anderson from Matter. Hi.
Hi.
Just a question on the customs side of things, and as we're talking about that, you know, we're labeling everything that is on the containers as simply mixed medical supplies, humanitarian aid.
Right,
They're not itemized, you know, down to what's on the pallets. Is
right.
that still okay to do, or are you seeing more detailed documentation being required?
Well, you know, so we went back and forth on one shipment. I think Katie and Angie were helping us because, and I forget which one it was. The receiver or the agent had said, well, we need to know specifically what's on the pallet. And we said, it's mixed medical supplies. It's a specific HTS code, medical supplies for donation, but non-medicine, like not like drug, like not ibuprofen or things like that. And they had said, well, we need it. And we said, well, when we shipped it, we didn't need it. And then they were able to find a workaround with it, with that. To my knowledge, it's still fine to ship things the way that we have done in the past. I will follow up with both of the agents because we're working with one agent that's helping us get things. They're transloading in Poland and taking things into Ukraine. And one agent we're working with who is specifically helping when the destination is Poland. Ultimately, with ultimate distribution into Ukraine, but there's no consignee in Ukraine yet. Is it possible for you to even do that at an itemized level? My understanding was that that wasn't necessarily possible, and that's why we didn't ask it in the beginning for your product.
Right, yeah, no, it's not, well, you know, nothing's impossible, but it would be a lot less, very small portions we'd be able to do, and extremely, you know, the hours to be putting into that, it just wouldn't accomplish the goals.
No, I agree. And I'll follow up on that because for that one shipment, it seemed as though the communications that we had going back and forth, whatever the last email was, and I think it was right before Nicole went on vacation, that seemed to like make whatever the problem was go away when we said, you know, we sent this info a month or 6 weeks ago. This is the level of detail that we have. And there is a specific HTS code that encompasses, you know, mixed medical supplies for humanitarian use. So what is necessary? Why is it necessary to have them detailed? I'll follow up with you guys separately on that. Once I go through some of the emails on that. I remember once it went away, I just was like, okay, we're good. It's going to be customs cleared. And then I was hoping that we wouldn't see that issue again. But I'll follow up with you guys once I'm making a note now to check in to see if there were any issues with that particular shipment.
Thank you.
I think somebody else wanted to say something, or maybe they just weren't on mute. I'm not sure. Maybe not.
I would like to say, I would like to say, we just deliver your container to Ukraine, to Lviv. I mean,
Yes.
what was last week or something.
Yes.
Concerning detailed invoice, for sure, it can make things more simple, especially to arrange transit formalities. But for example, if your consignee is well recognizable as humanitarian aid receiver, and the documents to agent in Gdansk or Gdynia can be supplied with official letter that this, for example, cargo goes directly as humanitarian to Ukraine for some aims, and it also can assist a lot. For example, we just had a container with fabric, and this fabric was under custom survey, and the Polish custom decided to check cargo and discharge whole container. And then we had a letter from Ministry of Military. This cargo goes for Ukrainian Army uniform, and they let us go without any survey. So it's
Yeah.
just like example for transit. If invoice and packing will not be detailed, the custom can ask for survey. That can be standard procedure. But
Right,
yeah, maybe can be a problem.
right. Yeah. I just figured some of that would it would get caught up because the initial influx of humanitarian aid and the volume, it seemed like everything was just going through in order to get the need and the goods to the end destination as soon as possible. And then after a while, it seemed like, you know, the government and the different agencies started to catch up and say, okay, are we doing this right? Should we change this? How do we protect also to make sure that people aren't bringing in humanitarian aid and then trying to sell it on the black market? I mean, I think we all saw that with COVID. There was a need for masks and other things in the States, and a lot of people bringing it in had really good intentions, and then other people bringing it in, even though it's the same product, you know, would bring it in and sell it at a huge markup. And that wasn't the intent for bypassing any of the duties or taxes on masks and PPE and things during COVID. So I think you can kind of use that kind of similar analogy for the humanitarian aid, that the intent is for it to get in the hands of the right people, but some of these extra layers of bureaucracy are there to make sure that they're discouraging those who are trying to not declare what they're importing or use it for means to make money instead of actually to help others.
Hey, Dmitro, I have a question. So if I get a letter from the consulate office stating that it is humanitarian aid, recognizing the container numbers on the letter, and then also from a local nonprofit there that's going to be distributing it to the local hospitals, then with those two letters, we shouldn't have any issues then. Am I correct?
Yeah, should be all okay.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to verify because I want to get stuff lined up way before we hit the problem. So that way I can maybe give you guys the letters as the vector. So that way, if things ever come up, it'll help.
Yeah, it should be presented on the stage when custom broker will start arranging transport declaration to support his T1 with some supporting letters from consignee.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Does anybody have anything else they want to ask or contribute? Or I don't really love being the main person talking. I know that.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you to everybody who was involved with getting those containers lined up. And I have a little video that's being in production right now to kind of do a nice thank you to everybody who obviously volunteered and who made things happen. That includes, you know, Vector and everybody else that were involved. So look for that probably in about a week. I was going to have it earlier, but then I got sick pretty bad. I just
that's right. How are you feeling, Vladimir?
Well, I got enough. I thought it was just a cold, but it turned into our whole office. 2 people got COVID, and who knows what the rest of them got, and then it was just like a mess.
Oh,
and yeah, so I'm finally back, you know, but I have to catch up on so much stuff now.
Poor Vladimir. So we didn't know that he was sick, and Evert and Brian Oxley and I are kind of hounding him for pictures, and he went dark for a while, and then he came back and he's like, I'm sorry, I was really sick, and my whole office was. And we were like, we feel really bad for bugging you. Sorry.
No, it happens, you know, but I usually don't get sick much, but this thing really beat me down. So,
Yeah.
But we'll be back, you know, I'll get I know it's in production already, so we should have it by the end of this week. The latest is early next week.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Christy will love that.
Just,
That's her-
yeah, I wanted to make it nice so it looks professional, so it doesn't, look like, so something
I would
you did
expect
in the
nothing
basement.
less from you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys for understanding.
Mhm.
Of course.
So I
Well,
got
so-
another meeting to run to, so if
Okay.
you guys would excuse me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for
it was
joining,
nice to see
Vladimir.
you guys. And I'll be back on the next one for sure. And I'll talk to you this week or beginning
Yeah.
of next week also.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
All right,
You have my
thank you very
number.
much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so before we wrap up, I just wanted to give anybody an opportunity to say anything or comment, critique, anything. Our next call will be in a couple weeks. Christy, I believe it'll be, hold on, 1, 2, Tuesday, August 9th. Am I right? That's
Yes.
4 weeks from now, same time. By then, I think everybody will be getting back into, the summer will be coming to a sunset here, and kids will be back in school, and vacations might be coming to an end. But we definitely will have a lot more kind of quantifiable information to share next time, and hopefully some new faces as well, and old faces.
Yes.
Repeat,
Sorry.
not old, repeat faces.
Repeat. Yes.
Yes, repeat.
Careful. Yeah.
Yes. Christy has the professional lighting over there. I'm
I have my fancy camera I pull out for
I
occasion.
know.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
know.
Debbie, I don't think you introduced yourself at the beginning. Syed, I got a message from you, but if you want to introduce yourself as well, then please feel free. We'd love to hear more about you and why you're here.
Well, I was invited by Enrique, and I just find logistics fascinating, but also I interviewed him for my webcast, but also I have roots in Ukraine. So this topic was quite interesting to me. And there's a friend of mine in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, who has been filling a couple of planes to take supplies over to Ukraine. So that's, there's that connection. And my paternal grandparents were from Shorktow, Ukraine. So that's why I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
And Syed's message said he's working for the United Nations, and he's got to leave for another meeting, but he's working for the United Nations in Mali, and he was interested to know about supply chain and logistics around the globe, and then also logistics specifically related to Ukraine. And so that's how he ended up here with us. And then I'll include this in the email as well, but a couple of days ago, we got somebody on the last call had asked about ambulances and emergency vehicles. And so Maureen has sent that information over to them, but our WCA contact, I'll put this info in chat and then in the email as well. So if anybody's wondering about ambulances, then their contact in France has the ability to get more. So that is really good news as well, since that's not an easy thing to find these days either. So that's encouraging.
Yeah. I'll reach out to Anya as well. It was her from the Copernicus group.
Yes. Yeah.
And she joined, and then they were able to get their nonprofit status set up in either Poland or Ukraine. I can't remember, but that gave them the ability to then receive material there, even though they're also she's based in New York.
Yeah.
And so one of our July containers, even though it probably won't ship until August because of the delays, would be going for the Copernicus group from Matter. Matter gets the gold star over there for the continued. Yeah. And same with Performance Health with their enormous contribution. So we really appreciate your guys, generosity, your donations, your time. Because I know that it is more than just moving some pallets to the dock and sending them on their way. So we appreciate you being patient as we go back and forth with the consignees and the steamship lines and all the other delays that ultimately happen that are out of our control, but we still feel responsible sometimes because we understand your time is important.
Yeah, especially as this isn't the leading news headline anymore. Still a lot
Yeah.
of work to be done.
Exactly. Yeah. Enrique, any closing remarks?
No, more like another note. I spoke to Oksana and she was actually working to get some body armor as well. I think she already got a couple of quotes and was working with the Ukrainian government here in the US to send that. So if that goes through and if it happens, we'll report back on our next meeting. And of course, if anyone wants more details around the armor, I think they're bulletproof vests and they have certain specifications that I'm not 100% aware of, but they're made here in the US. And if anyone needs them, just let us know. We'll share the contact too.
Yes, and she's also she messages me on WhatsApp quite a bit, and we put her in touch with Viva Blue to see if
Yeah.
there was
Filters.
to get water filters. And then she and I had gone back and forth about some of the mixed medical supplies. At first, she didn't think that the consignee she was working with needed them because they were mixed, so they couldn't determine, I just want this and I just want this. But then she came back the other day and said that she was more interested in that, and she had consignees, but she needed costs. And I told her that it could be possibly an August shipment for Vector, but then what we've seen is the cost of destination have like doubled in the past month or so. So I said, okay, well, these are sort of the cost of destination, because she wanted to know all that before we moved. And so she was going through that with her own network to make sure that, because they were legitimate consignees, but making sure that they also had the funds for that as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
If you may need, I can contact you to Ukrainian embassy representative in USA or Canada just to support with certification for double purpose cargo. It may be needed.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Just keep in mind, because I'm here to assist for government cargo. For example, we just met air cargo from Saskatchewan government. We do this job on daily basis. So if you may need, just let me know. I will contact you to embassy representative.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, we've seen more that like you mentioned, the trucking costs have gone up. The warehouse space is harder to find. So all those things that happen when the container comes off the ship and is in country, those costs have gone up a lot. And so we just always want to make sure that those who are paying those costs have the most up-to-date information at the time of shipping, even though they could change. But we've just seen a large jump in the past couple of weeks. And we just want to make sure everybody was on the same page before we put anything on the water. That's all I had. Yeah. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you in 4 weeks at our next call.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.